You see all that rain? That was all rain we got the other night that made that little lake out there. So, I am clearing out this bed for planting peas, and I have to clear the opposite side just about a couple inches out, or like a foot or two out, so the weeds don't creep right on top of the plants, because the plants are planted like on the fence line, and so I need to keep that grass from creeping back in. And with all this rain that we had like 7 inches in one night. It made the ground very easy to work. So I am wanting to get as much weeding done as possible while the ground is soft. So this actually will go pretty quick, pretty fast, because it's just a long, narrow thing of weeds to pull out. But I'm thinking what I want to do with this side of the fence, because this is the outside of the garden, is I'm going to just go ahead and till like a bed on this side, I think is what I want to do, and then fill it with flowers, because this back portion of the gate of the garden does not get water. It doesn't have water run out to it, and it's hard to get a hose out here, and so it usually just sits pretty unwatered most of the year. So that is why it's good for peas early in the year when it's cool and it's easy to get water out here and the plants aren't struggling. I could get some zinnias planted out here for the summer, so then when there would be a pop of color, it'd be really pretty. There'd be a lot of them, hopefully, fingers crossed. And it wouldn't matter as much with the watering, because it's just for ornamental purpose. And to be honest with you, the zinnias have grown back here on their own a couple of years. And so they've just popped up and they've done really well. And so I'm banking on that luck that I should end up with that again. We are supposed to drop into freezing weather again this weekend. It's gonna get down to like 32 again. So, maybe this will be the last cold snap, maybe it won't. But either way, I need to go ahead and get the spring stuff just planted and done so I can focus on the summer things, because really, this is kind of the point where I would like to have all of the tomatoes started, and I don't. So I'm going to get the spring stuff planted so I can quit thinking about it and just focus all of my energy and attention onto getting the tomatoes started, getting the eggplants and the peppers started, because I would have liked to have those started a lot earlier. So it'd be nice to go ahead and be able to get this one off my plate and focus on the other. I do still really want to plant some morning glories this year, and I recently found, I did not realize, apparently morning glories are very, very toxic. And I always thought that they had a toxic coating on them, but apparently what it is, they do put a coating on the seeds, and it's because morning glories are like narcotic. And like all plants, parts of the plant are poisonous, and I just didn't know that. So you learn something new every day. My sister found that one out. I was just gonna plant them up on that arch this year like I planned last year, but they had died on me last year because they got basically root rot from too much rain. So I think what I'll try and do this year is I have some containers in front, and I'm going to put them in the containers, so then that way, if they become a problem, they can be moved around. So that way, if the chickens somehow get into them, or which the chickens would only get into them if they it's high enough off the ground, I think it'll be okay. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think that's what I'm gonna do with those containers next to the arch. And then the arch, I'll just have to see if I can find, like, I know they have like black-eyed Susan vines and stuff like that, so maybe I could find something that is trailing or climbing that I could put on it that's not toxic to the chickens, just in case if the chickens get into it. Because even though I'll plant it on the inside of the garden, it will still kind of push out through the fence. So I want to make sure that whatever it is, it's not toxic for chickens. I don't usually, like, every year I try a little harder to make a fall garden and to make a spring garden and try and be on top of it. And so maybe that's something that I'll get better at. I'm hoping, I say maybe, that's something I hope that I'll get better at as time goes on. Because I always feel like I just like throw myself full on into the summer garden, and then I'm so wiped out that I kind of neglect the fall garden. And so, I would really like to be in better shape this year with seed starting, because it's one of those things where you have to put yourself in the mindset for it. And when you come off of all the harvesting and the preserving and stuff, you don't really think, oh, I need to go start cabbage seeds for the fall garden. But you really do by the time, at least for us, and maybe in August, towards the end of August, you need to start your, July or August, towards the end of July or August, you need to start some fall crops and getting those prepared to be planted out, that kind of thing. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that this year. I'm definitely going to try and do that with our onions, because I have enough onion seeds to choke a horse with, goodness knows. So those don't last super long. They don't have a super long shelf life, onion seeds. They last, I think 3 years is kind of like being generous, but really their date's about 2 years. And the thing about onion seeds is that seeds don't really go bad, but the longer you have them, the lower their germination rate goes. And so onion seeds are just something that's particularly fragile. And so if you hold on to a bunch of onion seeds for a long time, most of those seeds are not going to germinate. So you really want to continue to grow and save your onion seeds regularly every year, as much as you can. I think I'll let the chickens out to roam and pick at the ground, because with all that rain, it turned their run, and the run's tarped off at the top, but the end's open, so it's not fully tarped off. And so it just turned into like a mud pit. It was unbelievable. It's like the chickens were mud wrestling. It was terrible. And they went to bed super, super early last night because it was just miserable. Bless their souls. And so I think today it would do them good to get out and to get their feet on some fresh grass, which I know our grass is still mainly brown right now, but it's starting to green up. The only spot in the yard that I really don't know what to do about is where I'm going to plant the corn, and that's because I'm going to plant it out there. You can see kind of where those orange flags right there, that one, that orange flag. That is just a mess of overgrown weeds. We didn't harvest our corn, and it went to seed, so I saved it, so we'll see how that goes. It was a happy accident. I didn't mean for it to go to seed, but it did, so I saved it. But either way, so I saved all the corn seed, and then all of our black-eyed peas were the only bean that survived. I planted pinto beans, black beans, and black-eyed peas, and the pinto beans and the black beans didn't come up. And then the black-eyed peas came up beautiful. They did like they always do. They put on a beautiful show, just the most gorgeous thing ever. And we never got around to harvesting them. They ended up just going to seed out there and just dying. So that whole thing basically got tilled up and planted last year, and then I didn't put a foot in it since. It's just been there. There were some watermelons. We did eat some watermelon out of there. In fact, yesterday, when I was walking the dog, I found a melon out there, and it was just a melon, just a watermelon out there, and I was like, okay. It must have just rolled out of the weeds. It was crazy. That space right there is going to need a lot of TLC, and I'm kind of thinking I'll just go through, and I just need to make sure there's no cinder blocks or anything weird sitting out there, because there is one sitting out there, and I don't know why it's over there. So either way, I need to make sure there's nothing out there, remove the flags, just make sure it's as cleaned out as it can be, and then just run the tractor through it with the big old box blade on the back and just till it all up and start again. Now, I will say on the far end, which that would be there on the screen, right there on the far end, that is all of the black-eyed peas. The great thing about black-eyed peas is that when they die like that, so anytime you're dealing with a lagoon, so if you're talking peanuts, I'm pretty sure peas are like this, black-eyed peas are like this, bush beans, pole beans, those are all nitrogen fixers, and they will put a bunch of nitrogen into your soil. So if you actually allow them to die in the ground, they release the most nitrogen when they do that. So if you're wanting your black-eyed peas to put in a lot of nitrogen, then after you harvest off them, if you just leave the plants until they die in the winter, they will release the most nitrogen. That is when the most nitrogen is released into the soil, is through the dying process. Really, a lot of gardening is a lot of it's making plants but holding them very loosely. That's really what gardening is. You want to have a general idea of what you're doing and kind of a general plan, but you want to be able to say, okay, that didn't work, here's my backup plan. Like, it's almost like everything you do, you have a backup plan for. So I don't got a backup plan for the corn though. If the corn dies, if the corn seed isn't any good, then I'll have to go to the store and get some corn seed. And then if the soil's bad, well, the soil's bad, you just got to keep working it. It's just something you ever have to do, I guess. It's like, why'd you do this to me, Adam? Why'd you have to go eat that apple? Now I toil with the soil. Alright, so you can see we just cleared all of this down here, and I had cleared this earlier, but I did that so that grass wouldn't grow right into the roots while they were trying to grow. But maybe later down the road, I'll try and widen this. Like when I say later down the road, earlier, like soon, preferably sooner than later, I'll widen that for some flowers. It's like as soon as the sun goes down, you can just feel the temperature drop like 10 degrees. It's crazy. Thank you all so much for tuning in with me today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.